Hey guys, it's Holly. So recently the latest set of LEGO Ideas results came out and myself and a lot of people were really disappointed, except this time I don't think it was solely because of the project chosen. I think it was more kind of the circumstances regarding this round of selection. Now, it was a record-breaking selection with a total of 35 projects being included. Now, admittedly, quite a lot of these projects had become sets earlier in January that LEGO did themselves. Quite a lot of them are stuff that LEGO could probably already do with themes they have. So there was quite a few things there. There was a lot of IP things as well that may or may not have been rejected. But in total, there was only one project chosen, which to me felt really weird. And it's not just because I had friends with projects in this selection round or that I really wanted Ratatouille to be a set, which is completely true. But I kind of look at all of the sets that were up for selection and I wonder, why didn't the Seasons of Time calendar get chosen? Because it didn't have any licensing issues. It was a pretty solid set and would have been really cool. It also hits that adult market that LEGO Ideas is really trying to get into right now and is a display piece, and they seem to have a big thing for display pieces. So I feel really sorry for that designer because I think that set would have been perfect for what Ideas went with, but instead they only ended up picking one set, and their reasoning for that was, we're a bit busy. It felt really empty and really hollow, and just like there was a lack of communication coming from the Ideas team. Now, Ideas has kind of been a thing where it's like it's been called up before, like it's broken, it's not working, like the results are bad, like people aren't very happy with it typically, which I mean is great from the community standpoint because it gets a lot of discussion going. But I think it's kind of reached a point now, and I've been thinking about it for a while, that Ideas is honestly just a shell of what it used to be. It's not the same anymore. And they seem to be going in a very specific direction, which honestly I think might end up killing the theme in the future. Now, because of these results, a lot of people had different opinions that they were sharing, and overall it was a very negative reaction. So I had like my list of thoughts and things like that I'd started writing, but before I made this video, I asked you guys on Twitter, I was like, what do you think is wrong with Ideas? Because I wanted to kind of get a grasp of what the community thinks is wrong. Now, a lot of these did line up with what I kind of predicted, and there's a few things that didn't. Now, something that myself and a lot of other people have noticed is that with LEGO Ideas, the product like moderation and like way to follow the guidelines is completely flawed. Now, in all honesty, I have made a product and I'm trying to submit it to Ideas, and at the moment it is going through its first kind of product moderation phase. So once you submit a project, you have to wait 2 to 3 days to find out if they're going to allow it on the website. Now, in my mind, that should mean that a team is kind of reviewing it and checking it across like all of the different guidelines and rules that Ideas set in place. For example, no new molds, IPs that may or may not kind of inflict it, things that just the LEGO group in general doesn't really align with, and specifically what LEGO Ideas doesn't align with, because kind of what LEGO Ideas does and what regular LEGO themes do are very different things. And another big point is sets that kind of break or bend LEGO Ideas IP guidelines. For example, my project is based on Monsters Inc. So before I submit it, I have to write Monsters Inc. in there and check that it's approved before I can submit it. Now, there are a few things that are kind of banned or not allowed in this case. For example, Peter Pan is a set that I really wanted to do and submit, but I can't because it's not on there. Another thing is kind of Mr. Bean, and specifically Mr. Bean's Mini Cooper, because Mini Cooper was a creator expert set a few years ago. It was released and therefore it's not allowed on LEGO Ideas because it was already a thing that had happened. However, there's quite a few projects on LEGO Ideas based around that entire concept and theme that kind of break or bend the rules in some sort of way, and to me, that should have been picked up in the product moderation phase. Another example I think of is this amazing Legend of Zelda set, which recently hit 10,000 supporters. And when this was first uploaded, it had a bunch of new pieces and a bunch of new molds, which is something you can't do on LEGO Ideas. And those are problems that have kind of existed for a while, but recently there's been a few more issues that I've found. Specifically, what I kind of touched on earlier is that they're allowing products that are kind of repackaged versions of sets that LEGO's already done or have planned on doing that end up coming out before the results are released. For example, let's take the Bonsai Tree, the Brickhead's Dogs, and the Colosseum. All 3 of these sets have recently released, and all 3 of them have projects which are exactly the same that have been up on LEGO Ideas. Now, 2 of them were just in the review section and they got denied, and we all kind of saw that coming because it already exists. Why would Lego do that? In the next one, we've got the Colosseum and a police modular, and Lego once again has already done that, which means it's just adding unnecessary numbers to this review stage. We all know, looking at it, that it's not going to happen, and to some degree you're probably giving these designers a false sense of hope. You could literally decline them right now and right then and there as soon as you know that that's kind of coming up. You don't really necessarily have to give a full explanation, but just cancel these projects already, and that way when you do kind of have your selection of what's getting picked, people can actually see what actually stands a chance here. The other issue, and kind of my main issue with Lego Ideas at the moment, is in regards to the direction it's going. Now recently, Lego Ideas to me has just become an entirely adult 18 plus theme. Like, you look at the last few sets that have released, majority of them, if not all of them, have all been 18 plus since that adult range kind of launched last year. Now the main culprit that makes me think about this is Sesame Street. Now Sesame Street is kind of like a doll's house type of thing. Like, it's a great display piece, but you've got an open back so a kid could potentially play with it and use it in that type of way. However, that set is branded 18 plus despite the show literally being for like preschool and kindergarten children. We also have Winnie the Pooh coming up, and I can almost guarantee you that that's going to be the same thing. It's going to be another 18 plus set, and both of these things definitely should have been. I don't think the Sesame Street was that hard of a build. Honestly, Diagon Alley was harder, and that is a 16 plus set. Sesame Street should not have had that rating. Now I get that it's kind of just a thing to make it appeal more to adults, but something like Sesame Street shouldn't just appeal to adults. If Friends had come out this year, that probably would have been an 18 plus too. The blacksmith shop is an 18 plus, the piano is as well. Lego Ideas is just turning into a kind of adult curated theme, and I don't like the kind of way it's going. For example, I look at the last batch of sets, and it's kind of well known at this point that I really wanted Ratatouille to win. That's the one that I was kind of rooting for, and I honestly feel like that would have been fantastic. Adults would have enjoyed it, kids would have enjoyed it, teenagers. It's like Pixar is a very family friendly thing that adults love because it's really well done animation, and I think that set would have been the perfect point, kind of like Sesame Street, where it hits kind of all of the age categories and it had an amazing build. It could have been a beautiful display piece, but also a play set. Whereas every single build on Lego Ideas right now is primarily a display set. There aren't that many that really feature play features or even that you can interact with, which is really odd considering it is a main key point that they ask for when approving sets. Like, I look at the Ideas website right now and it's like, I love the look of the treehouse, but it's a mainly display set. Steamboat Willie is a display set, even though you can push it and it technically has a play feature. Sesame Street, like I said, you have that doll's house type of thing, so you can use it, but once again, it's made to be a display piece. The International Space Station, you can't play with that at all. The blacksmith shop, yeah, there's a few things you can kind of do, but it's mainly a display piece. Same with the piano, although you can play it, no one is spending $500 on a Lego piano to play it. They want it to be a display piece, and it's got a cool party trick to show guests when they come over or maybe occasionally use. And this is bad to me because it kind of feels like Lego Ideas has lost that essence that it used to have a few years ago. Yes, you kind of look back at all of them and they are really nice display pieces, but there was a certain charm to all of those old sets that is missing from the recent ones over the last few years. Especially recently, Lego has tended to go for a lot of things like household objects. For example, we got the piano, we're getting a typewriter, and we're getting a globe. And you cannot tell me that an audience younger than probably the age of 22 is really going to be interested in all of those things. I think the piano is kind of the only one that would appeal to everyone because I know a lot of young people grow up kind of learning how to play the piano. For example, I know that the Australian Certified Stores shared a photo of this young girl who passed her piano exams, or her parents got it as a celebration type of thing. But a typewriter is a very old-timey object that not too many people, at least my age or even younger, would really care about. A globe I can see looking really cool and being an awesome display piece, but once again, it's like I don't think the interest is going to be there as much as some of the other things that were put on offer at that time. This doesn't necessarily mean that we should approve SpongeBob and approve Avatar that are very kind of targeted towards the younger generation, but there should definitely be kind of some variation and not just fully adult products. And this has nothing to do with the product designers and kind of the way that that project is. I think all of those projects look great, and I'm really excited to see how the typewriter and the globe turn out. The globe especially, I think that would look pretty cool, but to me, I don't really have an interest in it. I'm excited to see how it looks, but I don't plan on going out and buying it. I don't need a Lego version of something I can go and buy that would probably cost like $30 or $40 to get from a store. If I wanted a typewriter, I'd probably go out and buy a working typewriter rather than one that I can't actually use and it's just a Lego version of. Same with the globe. You can't really get that same sense of like where locations are. I think it will look really cool, but for someone like me, I don't see myself buying it. I don't necessarily need it. I don't really want it. I'm just excited to see how it turns out, which isn't gonna make Lego any money. Now, for all of these things, there have to be solutions, and there's a few that I've kind of come up with as like suggestions of things that Lego Ideas could do to try and help fix these problems and kind of make it what it used to be and make it a lot more lively and fun and not just disappointing a lot of people all of the time now. The first thing that I think Lego Ideas could and should do is start to remove projects that they know that they are already making or have made, just to make that pool of sets for selection a lot smaller. For example, remove all of the modulars. They know that they're not going to pick it because it means that they're going to lose out on money of something that they could just make themselves and put into their own theme. Creator expert. Same things with like model cars that they know they're going to do. That could be in Speed Champions or Creator Expert once again. Any architecture sets. There's an architecture theme. They can do it in there. Same with brickheads. As much as I love a lot of the brickheads projects that are on there, it's definitely one of my favorite things to look at. Lego's not going to pick them, so don't give these designers false hope that yes, these things could become a reality. For example, with the bonsai tree and the Lego doggo, they should have been notified that these things we're planning on releasing already and taken those projects down. It doesn't really spoil anything. It's not necessarily a Lego leak. I mean, at the end of the day, half of this information is found out anyway because of retail sites listing it, but they need to get these designers noticed because you spend so much time and effort campaigning for these sets, let alone waiting to see if they get approved. Don't waste the designer's time, remove them already. Another kind of point with that is that there is an entire tab that says modulars and architecture under Lego Ideas. So maybe don't endorse those types of things, especially since you've never picked one in the history of Lego Ideas and probably won't pick one because, like I said, you don't want to like pay someone 1% of all of your profits of something that you could just slot into another pre-existing theme that you have. Another thing that I would probably do if I was in charge of Lego Ideas is not allow themes or like projects that closely resemble stuff that already exists. Like I said, modulars, brickheads, cars, architecture, but even I would probably remove or even separate the fact that you can upload city sets and Ninjago sets and anything of like Lego's own license. I think if you're going to do that, make it an entire separate sub-theme. Have this whole section where fans can upload sets of themes that already exist and then pick one and include it in like the regular theme alongside the rest of all of the sets that would regularly release in a wave. So I think stuff like that and like all of the modulars even should be its own kind of separate section to the rest of Ideas, and then they pick one and then just slot it into whatever theme it belongs in and release it alongside the rest of the sets from that wave. I think that would kind of be the best way of doing that. Now this point kind of specifically references their kind of reasoning to why they only picked one project, and that is don't run contests that undercut the 10K supporter system and then use it as an excuse for only picking one project. Now at the end of the day, Lego Ideas doesn't need to pick any projects at all. It's completely up to them. But the main issue I have with this was their reasoning. They said there's too much going on, we're very busy, we can only pick one. And to me, that is a massive slap in the face to every single designer because we had the highest record number of projects. We also had the highest rejection rate from that entire process by only picking one. And if you're going to run all of these contests to pick a set or design this that completely undercut the process of campaigning and trying to get all of these supporters, firstly, it's unfair to everyone else who is trying to get those supporters. Secondly, it means you're clogging up the rest of the space, and as we've seen now, not as many projects are going to be accepted, which is unfair, like I said, to all of the designers. If you're going to run these contests, have a different department or a different division take care of solely them. I mean, I guess that depends on like Lego's financial state, but don't let it interfere with the Lego Ideas process. It's unfair, I think, to the theme, and my main point throughout this entire thing is make it fair to the designers. I would also like Lego Ideas to start taking risks again. Everything that they've selected recently feels very, very safe and just not as exciting and interesting as it used to be 3-4 years ago. They seem to be just picking things that sit there and look pretty, and honestly, it's starting to get very repetitive and very stale as an entire theme. While all of these sets are completely different, they all kind of do the same thing and have the same feel to them. There's no excitement, no differentiation anymore, and it's really disappointing. Another point that kind of links into that is don't turn it into a solely 18+ line. I know that Lego is really trying to focus in on the AFOL market right now, but it doesn't need to be like that. You can have sets that appeal to adults that aren't 18+. Like, look at Friends, that sold so well. I remember literally being at the Lego store on the Pick-a-Brick wall, and these two girls walked in and saw the Friends set and loved it and ended up buying it, and they didn't look like Lego fans. They didn't know what anything in the store was, but they saw Friends and they picked it up, and it didn't matter that it wasn't in a black box with an 18+ branding and banner at the bottom. So make things that appeal to everyone and not just adults. Sure, make very adult curated things as well, but don't just make adult curated things. Something I would really like to see happen, especially now that I'm submitting a project, is providing designers with feedback. People want to know where they went wrong. It will help people build mocks in the future and probably help them as well in designing future sets to submit to Lego Ideas. I feel like it's just a whole lack of transparency. It's literally like, you didn't get selected, alright, cool, move on. Like, provide these people with feedback. It's like, imagine if you did a test and you failed, but your teacher didn't tell you why you failed. It's not very encouraging, and you want to know what you did wrong so that you can do better next time. And lastly, properly moderate projects that go through so that you don't have to reject them for reasons that are clearly stated in your guidelines and rules at the very end. It's going to save you time in the approval process if you do it at the very beginning. And it's really disappointing to see that it is a shell of itself. Like I said earlier in the video, I want this theme to thrive and I want it to be fun. And honestly, even though I'm uploading a project, I'm worried. Like, looking at the way Lego Ideas is done now, being very display based, being very adult orientated, focusing a lot on kind of household objects and just design pieces that just sit there, I'm worried for myself, and that's not a good thing to feel like. So I don't know, I just hope that something can be done with Lego Ideas to change it, because the way it's going now, it's not working for a lot of people, and you're never going to impress anyone. But when your fan base is constantly disappointed by what the results are and kind of how that whole situation is being handled, only picking 1 or 2 projects out of massive selection waves. I know you don't want to go through all these projects, Lego, but give people some sort of feedback. Tell us why you picked these specific things and why you rejected others. We just want communication. Also, from what I've heard, the customer service and support side of Ideas isn't very helpful either, so maybe like put some time and care into that as well. At the end of the day, I'm just a Lego fan. I don't know everything. There are tons of other things that I have no idea about that could impact a lot of the kind of things that Lego does behind Lego Ideas, but I'm just passionate, and as someone who wants to design a set and put it up on there as well, a lot of these things are very personal to me right now, as they are to a lot of other people who spend so much time, effort and energy in making products in the hope that they'll get approved and selected and made into real sets. But let me know your thoughts on Lego Ideas down below, and thank you to everyone as well who kind of commented and responded telling me what your problems are with Lego Ideas. I really appreciate it, and thank you for kind of helping me make this video. And if you guys enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below. And until next time guys, I'll see you later.